I'm getting to a really good place where I can see the bottom of my container. Hey, I'm coming in for an update on my Scrappy project from Sew the Scrap out of, it was Sew the Scrap out of March. That was leftover pieces from my Freedom Bound quilt. And I'm getting to a really good place where I can see the bottom of my container. So where I am at right now, I'm going to show you in just a second. But what I've done is kind of separated what I have going on. Number one, the main project is still on the wall, which I'm going to start piecing that together. But the good thing about that is it requires no more of the scraps at this point, other than the fact that I think I want to do a scrappy border around it, and I am going to just use some of what I have to do that, and I'll show you that. So that's in place. The second pile of items that I have are pieces that I started doing, like crumb blocks or scrappy blocks, where I was just putting pieces together. And even though I'm calling them crumb blocks, that's not really what these are. I did this in the style that I showed you guys a while back in a video, or I put it in a link from a blog post, which she called Vortex quilts. I don't think that this particular project really falls in that category because they're kind of all from the same project, and a lot of it was strips. But that's kind of what I was going for here, just mix matching pieces that were similar sizes, building them up until I get larger block sizes. And I have a lot of little ones, but I stopped these when I realized that I had so many pinwheels, and I decided to deal with the pinwheels first and then move to these. So here's the second items that I have, and here's the stack that I have of them that are finished. Different sizes, nowhere near the block size. The second pile that I have left are what I would consider somewhat like yardage, and so I've cut down a lot of this. And what I did with this is I cut them down to standard sizes, so that everything, at first I was like, oh, this is enough that I can maybe, then I just cut that stream of thought off. And I settled on some standard sizes. So these, I know that they will fit in those standard sizes. The sizes that I'm cutting them down to are 5-inch squares, and here's what I have left. This is of the yardage that I had before I got to this point, but I'm doing them in 5-inch squares. And then I'm doing them in the So Easy standard scrappy block size of 2 inches by 3.5 inches. And I have quite a bit of these. I am also cutting them into 5 by 2 inch blocks. And I'm going to show you how all these are going to come together. And lastly, I'm cutting them into 2-inch blocks. And I have quite a few of these. So what am I doing with these? And here are more of the So Very Easy standard scrappy blocks. I have quite a bit of those. Now, at one time I was cutting them in 2.5 inch, because those are kind of like a standard, what are they? I can't think of it. I want to say postage, and I know that's not it. but you know, 2.5 inch squares. And I may end up cutting these down to 2 inches since I'm using them for a block that I created or pieced. I mean, not created as an originated, but that I came up with. So, and I'll show you that in just a second. So that is my yardage, and all of the yardage, I'm cutting it down into those 1, 2, 3, 4 different sizes. And then I have a pile of nothing but strips, and I have quite a bit, um, just quite a bit, various sizes. Some of these will technically fall into the category of the yardage if it is over 2 inches. And I just got an idea today of how I can kind of get through these faster. And I'm going to make, I guess, probably like what I would call a Texas star with those. And when I do that, I'll share. But for now, I have strips. The strips fall into a category of anything that's over. I'm sticking to over an inch because, especially when you're pressing, it's easier to finger press if it's over an inch because then you still at least have half of an inch to kind of work with. But yeah, anything over an inch. Most of this, which is really helpful, is almost by the width of the fabric. Not all of it, but enough. And I think that is it. Strips, Vortex pieced blocks, yardage, and the yardage is being cut down into those 4 or 5 standard pieces. I can't remember. Now, what I'm doing with the standard pieces is I am taking the So Very Easy Scrappy block, and I made it into a full, what I'm considering a block. Hers was kind of just this 2 coming together. I put 4 together so that I could get a size. So here it is. If I'm not mistaken, it's 6.5 inch square. Once I have the sizes, I just work, yeah, 6.5 inch square. Then what I did, and this is how I came up with my standard sizes, is I wanted to figure out how I could use up the rest of the yardage to pair with this size. So to pair with the 6.5 inch size block. And I did 2 variations, and I'm settling on 1. The first variation that I did is with the 5-inch block. I just surrounded it with, this is 2-inch by 5-inch. And this was 6.5 inches by 2 inches. And this is the block, but I'm not going to stick with this block. But this was an option. The reason why I did not go with this block is because I would need fabric that was at least 6.5 inches, and a lot of it is not that long. And so that was an issue. I settled on this block, which is the 5-inch block with 2-inch by 5-inch on each side, and this is a 2-inch square. So what I do is I sew one of the 2 by 5 inches on one side, and on the other side I do a 2-inch square with a 2 by 5-inch square and put it all together, and that gives me a 6.5 by 6.5 inch block. Yeah. So with that said, I'm feeling good because this bucket was full. And once I get these strips handled, and I'm going to just piece all the strips together. I'm just going to sew them all together and then press it. Probably press it with open seams and then do some playing around with that. Just to have fun. But I wanted to kind of save that a little bit until after I finish these pieces. And this is all of the odds and end pieces that are still over an inch both ways that can be used to put together those pieced blocks. So all of this for the most part is probably going to be pieced on there first. Then I'll use any yardage to round it off to get a standard size for the blocks. I think what I'm going to do is go with a standard size of 6.5 inches. It's going to make whatever comes together, very, very scrappy. But one of the things that I saw, I was watching, oh, I can't remember his handle, but he's the Sewing Marine, something like that. The Sewing Marine. I'll find his channel and put it in the description box. The description box. But when I was watching his channel, one of the things that I liked when he did his crumb blocks was he did all of his crumb blocks to be 6.5 inches. And at first, I was going for go for whatever one of my ruler sizes are, like my big square rulers, because it'd just be easy to square it up. And that was, I have a 9.5, a 12.5, and I have a 6.5, but I just didn't consider it. I was actually thinking going bigger because I just wanted big blocks, thinking to get it over with. But when I saw when he's probably going to have another video coming up soon when he was doing a crumb, I think he was doing a crumb block quilt for his wife. Oh, that's what he's doing. A crumb block quilt for his wife that's a shadow block. That's what he's doing. But the point that I took away from it, which is why these videos are always great, right? Because they give you this sense of creativity and that you can get little bits and pieces and ideas from different places, pull them together and kind of do your own thing. But what I loved from his tutorial, I guess I'll call it a tutorial because he did show how to do it, is that all of them, he had them all at 6.5 inches. And I thought, man, that's kind of small. But being that you're dealing with crumbs, if you're dealing with small little bitty pieces, building up to 12.5 inches seems like forever. So him stopping at 6.5 was very reasonable. And and I have a 6.5 inch ruler. I have also a 5, but once I decided I was gonna flank, well, I also have a 5, but the 6.5 seemed the most reasonable after watching his video and after realizing that putting 4 of those I think her name is Laura, I'm gonna say Miss Laura, and Miss Laura's little blocks together, it made a 6.5 inch block. And I was like, okay, boom, that's the size. So everything else is kind of falling in line with that. So last thing with all of this is the border for the pinwheel top. I've showed you guys this before, but I have not done it yet. And I'm gonna just sew with the strips before I kind of put them all together. Either that or with some of these pieces. I think they're wide enough, and they may not be. I'll find out. But I want to do a scrappy border around that pinwheel. It's going to make it all probably look messy. I have no idea. But we're going to figure this all out as I go along. Just to go around the whole thing. And the kind of the last little part of this is really because I want to kind of feel like all the pieces, all the fabrics are represented. Talking to my ear. Are all put together to bring the last little bit of cohesiveness to that top. And this is just adding paper, receipt paper. And I'll do that, but she's still talking in my ears. But I'm just gonna wait and do that after I kind of get these other things cut down and put all together, and kind of get a move on. With that said, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled at the progress. I can't believe that when this is all said and done, that I'm gonna essentially have enough scraps to make what I'm thinking is probably going to be 2 lap size quilts, and probably make them into prayer quilts and give them away. But yeah, that's it. So with that said, this is going to go up as its own little video. I probably should have said, pardon me, I'm chilling today. And I hope that this message and this video finds you well. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. As I said, I think at the top of this video, this is been based on scraps and leftover from the Freedom Bound quilt. So I can't necessarily tell you like how much yardage I'm using or anything like that because it was all from leftovers. However, you know, if you have questions about the pieces that I kind of broke down to and then got to at the end, you know, they're here in this video. That's why I actually stated them. And if I get questions, I can put them in the description box. That's it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of yourself and your family and follow any precautions that are going on in your area because this is being recorded during the, I guess it's not technically the quarantine anymore since some places are opening up, but just take care of yourself. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and goodbye. Thank you.